Yes, a real job can be gruesome, a real job can make you very tired, but a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I knew that I'd have to end up making a video on this delusional bozo sooner or later. This guy only gives bad takes. I swear it's a skill at this point. Even if I tried, I couldn't give bad take after bad take 10 out of 10 and never fail. This guy's takes might just be worse than cooking with Jack's food. But I might be getting a bit too ahead of myself here. Before we even get into this, let me give you a quick rundown of who this guy even is. So Hasan Piker is pretty much a majority political / reaction streamer. Now I'm not into politics whatsoever, so I can't really speak on his political side, but from what I've seen and heard, his political takes and views are just as bad as all his other takes. And his reaction content is honestly the worst of its kind. So Hasan likes to put a little bit of a twist on his reaction content. Instead of the usual watching and reacting to the videos, he likes to just skip the reaction part altogether. You know, just a bit different from the normal. It's like having a cheeseburger but without the cheese. Or the burger. It's literally like the Yankee with no brim, but instead of that, it's just reaction with no reaction. And you might kind of be a bit confused on what that even means. Like, oh, he just plays the videos and then he's just silent or something like that. Nope, it's way worse. He'll put the video on and then just get up and leave while it's playing in the background. He'll literally just start the video and leave like a parent trying to keep their kid quiet by playing Cocomelon on their iPad. I honestly don't know how he didn't receive more hate for this. He was genuinely just stealing content and adding no value to it. I'm surprised that he didn't get copyright strike to oblivion. But now that we know who he is, we can get back to the clip from the beginning of the video. And I'm actually going to play it one more time just to jog your memories and make sure that we were hearing everything correctly.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome, a real job can make you very tired, but a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean? In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will.
It is literally crazy how unattached from reality you can be. This is truly one of the outrageous statements ever. But before I even get into everything wrong with this, I did want to say that I do see where he's coming from. I'm not going to sit here and act like streaming and content creation isn't hard whatsoever. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's the easiest thing ever. I'm obviously also nowhere near as popular as a streamer like Hasan, so I can only give my take on that situation with how I can see it from here, but I definitely do agree that it can be super hard, pause, especially in like the growing state. Wow, super pause, but especially in the stage where you're like growing and trying to like build your fan base and everything, because that's literally a ton of hard work. You have to stay on top of your game, you have to constantly be creative and coming out with new things. There's not really a set path for anything, so all the growth is 100% up to you to figure out how to do. Sure, there's your tutorials and everything out there and your help guides, but they're not really that great. You have to kind of just feel around for it yourself, so I can definitely see it being super hard, especially if you're a streamer and you do typically run longer streams. I can 100% see how that would be like super socially draining, but the problem comes in when you're comparing that to a normal job. Pretty much everything that I just mentioned there that makes streaming hard also applies to pretty much any job ever, except for maybe the creative aspect. So his main argument in the video was that normal jobs don't suck the soul out of you like streaming does. And I honestly couldn't disagree with this more. Like I said, I'm not saying streaming isn't draining at all. I'm just saying comparing it to a normal job is crazy. Normal jobs literally suck the soul out of you and then some. Even your basic like entry level jobs that you might not even have to be that social in. Like look at someone after working for like 2 or 3 years at Amazon or something. I swear it's a 50% chance you come out of that developing a 1,000-yard stare. He also said what makes it much harder is typically the long hours, which isn't that great of an argument either. The average amount of hours worked per day in a normal job is 8.5. And going back to the example from a second ago with Amazon, if you are working there, you're either working for 10 or 12 hours straight. And that's not even including break time. So you're typically going to be in there for 10.5 hours or 12.5 hours. And this is also for the most part just talking about your basic jobs. This isn't even to mention the hard jobs jobs like surgeons, engineers, firefighters, construction, teachers, and even office jobs. If he really wants to bring mentally and socially draining into the question, ask some people in either some sort of office job setting or some sort of fast food or customer service setting how easy their job is. Especially in customer service, if you work anything over 6 months in customer service, you start aging rapidly. I swear you'll start developing gray and white hairs at 15 times the rate as everyone else. You'll look like you're in your 40s and your 20s. Another thing that I wanted to bring up as well is something else that makes streaming much easier is that it's a choice. You don't have to stream. I feel like this point is looked over a lot in this topic, but another thing that makes jobs so mentally taxing is people typically don't like the job that they're in. It's rare that you're gonna find someone that enjoys the job that they do, and it's usually not even their fault. They just had to take what they were able to get because they couldn't get what they actually wanted, so they were just pretty much forced to settle. And that's not really the case with content creation and streaming at all. If you're doing those types of things, it's because it's your choice, so you should never really have the mental burden of, damn, I'm doing something that I deeply despise doing. Also wanted to bring up the quick point that, why do you think most young people's dream job or what they want to do in the future has something to do with content creation, streaming, or just being some sort of online presence? I don't see anyone saying that when they grow up they want to be a fucking coal miner or a steel mill worker. But to be fair to Hasan, there is a bit more context to the clip. That was really just like a 5-second segment to it, so I'm gonna play the other part of it as well.
No. Social battery wise, unless you're in retail, it's very different. You're out of touch with them. I'm gonna die, dude. There's motherfuckers who are accountants in here and they're misunderstanding what I'm saying. A real job does not expend your social battery in the same fucking way as someone who did a sales job, a real job, okay? I'm telling you, as someone who did both, like 9 hours of constant performance and people pleasing taps you out from social scenarios. After 9 hours of that, I could probably do fucking physical labor. It would not bother me, but I can't fucking do more social shit. That's my point. There are obviously real jobs out there that are good comparisons. Service sector, people pleasing jobs would be very similar. Those are like, I think, customer service type shit. But like if you're an accountant or if you're even like in sales, my interactions with clients was limited, way more limited than like constantly having to do this for 9 hours with like a back and forth interaction for 9 hours. That's what like sucks your social battery and you just tap out after it.
Now, after hearing that, like I said before, I definitely 100% understand where he's coming from, especially if you are streaming for like 9 hours. I can see how that can be severely socially taxing when you have to like pretty much please people and get along with them for 9 hours straight. I'll also give him a bit of credit where it is due. He did also acknowledge certain jobs that will also heavily tax your social battery, but I think my biggest problem with his whole argument is that he's putting way too much weight on how much harder streaming is because it's socially taxing. Like I was mentioning earlier, a job doesn't have to necessarily be socially taxing to be way harder. If his argument just completely stopped there and it's like, oh, streaming is more socially taxing than a ton of other jobs, yeah, sure, you might have us there. But just because it's a bit more socially taxing than your average job, that doesn't make up for how much harder a normal job overall is. Like I was saying earlier, with the fact that most jobs that people work, they don't even like, which takes a huge toll on your mental when you're pretty much forced to work a job that you fucking hate. And even the jobs that aren't even necessarily as mentally draining, but more physically draining, are still much harder. Go look at a job like construction or something like that, or some sort of mechanic, and that's not even to mention all the different logistics that come with a typical job versus streaming. With your average job, there's almost little to no room to grow, and if there is room room to grow, it's extremely hard. And even if you do manage to get to like the peak performance in your field, it's still not going to pay you anywhere close to what the top earners on different streaming platforms or content creation platforms are making. They bring home literally millions a year, and if you make it to the peak in a typical job, you're maybe looking at a couple $100,000 a year, which is still a ton of money, but it's nothing close to what these streamers are making. And then you got to get into all the other parts with the normal jobs like transportation. Usually your schedule is set in absolute stone, especially if you are at the peak performance. There's going to be a lot expected from you, so you're going to need to be there all the time and doing your work at peak performance. It's honestly just no real comparison for me from the way I'm seeing it. Like I said before though, I'm nowhere near as popular as any of these large streamers that would have a take like this, so I can only really say it how I see it, but from what I'm seeing, a ton of other large creators are pretty much agreeing with the sentiment that sure, streaming and content creation is super hard, but when you put it up against pretty much any normal job out there, it's no real comparison. Hence the reason why it's probably most people's dream job. Also, going back to the clip from earlier, Hasan saying people pleasing for like 9 hours straight is pretty fucking funny considering half the time he's not even at the chair and he just has a video playing on the screen. And pretty much the last part of it, I know this is a bit out of order, but I kind of want to double back just a little bit and throw in the caveat that there are some content creators and streamers and stuff that I do think the type of thing that they do is significantly harder than your average job. Like your people like your Mr. Beasts and shit. Like I'm sure there's literally no argument there that what Mr. Beast does, even though it is YouTube and content creation, is significantly harder than pretty much any other job someone would encounter, other than maybe the few off chance ones like firefighters and steel mill workers and shit. But he's literally sitting there making like 7 videos at a time while running 3 businesses, like his fucking chocolate chain, his fast food company, and his like charity shelters. So like I said, I did just want to throw in that caveat right quick. I know it's a bit out of order, but hey, it is what it is. Also, if you made it this far in the video, make sure to drop a subscribe because literally 0% of you are subscribed. So that's pretty much it for this video, talking about one of Hasan's several brain dead takes, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.